Tuesday Drive.
Don't go anywhere, Silver Screen is coming up soon, plus the latest weather forecasts for around the country and what's making the news on the Global Gazette. Coming your way on Tuesday Drive with Stephen.
It's 27 to 6. That was Burning Down the House from Tom Jones and, of course, featuring the Cardigans. Now, you may remember back in April when many of us were really starting to understand the seriousness of the coronavirus, and we made the comment about how important it is to wash your hands with soap and water before quickly moving on to more pressing issues, such as washing powder and whether to bump the machine up to 90 degrees. And thanks again to Choice's Matt Steen on shedding some light on that issue. Well, today I'm almost going to do a complete 180 and bring our conversation back to the humble bar of soap and to a man that I guess you could say loves the slippery bar as much as I like karaoke with friends. It's Professor Palli Thordarson from the School of Chemistry at the University of New South Wales, who also, can I say, happens to be a Southern Highlands resident. So he's actually a neighbour of ours. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Stephen. Nice to be on your program.
Now, Professor, why is soap so important?
Well, soap is so important because it's probably the easiest and one of the most effective ways of destroying this nasty thing we call now the coronavirus. I've been fascinated by viruses for a long time because they're neither really alive or dead, and as a chemist, they're really just an example of a very sophisticated nanoparticle. Well, we know in chemistry that one of the ways we can pull apart a nanoparticle is with soap. And yeah, that's why it's the simplest, but one of the most effective way for you to get rid of, shall I say, reduce the risk of getting infected if you've been around an infected person. It won't stop the epidemic, but you're doing your best to keep it down by continuously washing your hands, because your hands are like a minefield if you've been in around an infected person or where an infected person has touched a surface.
So how does soap actually break down this nanoparticle? Because that's just sort of blowing my mind at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's because in the case of the virus has it's like a little ball. It's a nanoparticle of the RNA, which is like the genetic material that allows the particle to replicate, and some proteins that help with that. But on the outer, there is a greasy layer, and that's the weak link for the virus. And this grease is just like any other grease. If you add soap to it, it will pull it apart. Once you pull that greasy layer apart around the virus, it's no longer active. And so that's the magic. Soap is just dissolving this greasy little nanoparticle, just like when we wash our hands after being in a garden or whatever, and they're dirty.
Now, I like the fact that you just called that magical soap, Professor. I like that very much. I think I might have to might have to coin that. But speaking of, the magical soap, as you say, is soap just as effective as liquid soaps that you'd get in a pump bottle? Or are they both basically the same?
They're all more or less the same, and whether it's a bar of soap that you make into a lather on your hand, or you take liquid soap, whether you buy cheapskate soap from the supermarket or a fancy organic soap, they all work the same way, more or less. I mean, the chemicals are slightly different, but the beauty is that if you can wash your dirt off, if you can wash the dirt off your hand with that soap, it's going to get rid of the virus. The key is not to be lazy and lather your hands properly and rub them back and forth for a good 10, 20, 30 seconds, because you need that time to be able to truly get to all the nanoparticles and all the different parts of your on your hand. So don't be lazy, do it properly, and then you should be able to get rid of them all. But what kind of soap you use, that's not very important.
And I think there's a bit of a song in there as well. Don't be lazy, do the hand wash. You're on fire this afternoon.
Yeah, maybe we should get together and write a little song, yeah?
Hey, well, I've got a studio here, so you're more than welcome to join us, that's for sure. Now, You mentioned just before about not being lazy, washing your hands for 20 to 30 seconds. Now, of course, over the last few months, especially in government advice, the magical number seems to be 20 seconds. Why is that?
I think so. There's no particular, can I say, chemical reason for that. It's more I would call it a psychological reason. You probably just need 20 seconds at least to properly have gone over the entire surface of your hands, the back of your hand and the palm of your hand, between the fingers and all that. If you just really think about it, if you want to make sure you rub all the surface of your hand, it'll probably take you a good 20 seconds. Unless you're some sort of Superman and you can rub your hands together really, 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 really quickly and everywhere, right? So it's probably people in the medical research field have worked this out with the influenza virus a long time ago. If you want to be reasonably sure you cover the entire surface of your hand, you just need to give it a bit of a time. And it's the same, by the way, I should say, it's the same with the sanitizer rubs, the alcohol rubs. They work beautifully, but you have to just give yourself the time of rubbing the entire surface of your hand. Otherwise, if you think about this, like, I don't know if you love watching the U-boat movies, the little mines that float around the ocean.
I do, yes.
Your hands are almost like the ocean with all these little mines on top if you've been near the waters. And you need to make sure you sweep all the mines away, right?
Actually, it's really interesting. I've noticed when I use the hand sanitizer, when you go into a store, you go into a shop, they've all got them there down the front desk, that I'm really, really mindful of making sure my hands are, completely covered with this hand sanitizer. Yep. But when I, now, if I finish at the restroom or I go to the restroom just to wash my hands, I actually have to really focus to make sure that I'm washing my hands correctly, which I found I just find that bizarre. That it's just a bit different mindset than using hand sanitizer.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's partly because we've not just had to worry much about dirt for the last few decades. I grew up on a farm, so you occasionally would come in with your hands completely covered in dirt, and you actually had to spend some time getting it all off your hands. But if you do a desk job like I do now, and many of us do, I mean, your hands are never dirty, right? So we haven't really thought about this for a long time, unless you do some sort of an outdoor job where your hands are continuously dirty, right?
Now, unfortunately, we're just about out of time. I've got one last question for you. We're all very spoilt with soap and liquid soap these days in our supermarkets. Have you, Professor, got a favourite one, perhaps like some exotic tropical smelling variety, or are you sort of just your standard garden variety?
Oh, I'm very garden vanilla on that front. We just buy whatever is in the supermarkets. So, I like the smell of lavender on a good day, but yeah, I'm not going after it. So. You've torn me down. I was expecting someone from the School of Chemistry to have something very exotic. Yeah. There's been a few people suggesting I should go into soap marketing, but I'm not sure I want to sell my soul quite now, right? Yeah. But I should say my quotes have been used in soap shops overseas. There's if you go to Lush in the UK, they have a quote on the window there from me for some reason.
Oh, you should feel rather honoured.
Yeah. Or try to get the commissions, yeah.
Well, look, I've got to say, it's just been so much fun having a chat with you today, Professor, and thank you so much for your time.
No problem, and stay safe.
Thank you. Happy hand washing.
Yes, thank you, and everyone, just keep on washing their hands, yeah?
Very wise words indeed. That was Professor Palli Thordarson from the School of Chemistry at the University of New South Wales, and also our neighbour in the Southern Highlands. I'd love to hear from you too if you have a particular favourite variety of soap. Let me know, 4422 1045, or of course you can text us on 0468 44 1045.
This is Tuesday Drive.